My DM made a level up decision I don't like. Am I overreacting? I mean, the whole thing is stupid, but if the player who was the traitor only found out 15 minutes before the session, how were the rest of you meant to figure it out? Even the best role players would struggle on short notice. Maybe get the traitor character on board with how boneheaded the DM is being and have a bit of an intervention with him. I know DM rules and all, but DM doesn't have a game without players. See, I knew the level difference thing wasn't a thing that only bothered me. This DM also makes it so that if anyone dies in a session, the new character they make has to be 2 levels behind everyone else. I don't understand his obsession with having everyone be different levels honestly, but I've always hated it. This is so idiotic. This is a freaking role-playing game. The players are supposed to call the shots of what their character does. In what world is this going? Texting, oh, by the way, I changed your character without consulting you, you're now an enemy of the group. This is one of the most stupid things I've ever heard. The leveling thing is only adding additional idiocy. TH characters have either earned a level up or not. Why are we playing werewolf all of a sudden? Pretty sure a more fleshed out version of this mechanic was used in Dungeons and Daddies, along with non-matching levels. My bet is that your DM thought it was cool and didn't consider if it would actually be fun for the players. Unthoughtful copying of actual play podcast have been ruining D&D games for years, so you have joined a very large club. I don't understand this at all. Does your party now know who the traitor is? Are they supposed to still help the traitor? Does the traitor have a reason to be the traitor? Is the player playing the traitor interested in being the traitor? Level up decision aside, this is an utterly asinine way to play D&D. There are one-page RPGs and board games about playing against the other players, but D&D isn't built for this, and having a traitor in the party isn't the kind of thing most people sign up for when playing D&D, nor is it something the game is balanced for. If the PCs now know who the traitor is, they can cream them pretty easily, 2-level gap aside. He declared a player a secret traitor, without discussing with that player, or describing what that means. Made you try to guess who that individual was, otherwise unprompted and without context. Gave mechanical consequences for failing to figure out who said traitor was. Did not give narrative consequences for the traitor or knowing who they are. I mean, the traitor didn't actually do any betraying, but still, what are you supposed to do with this? What was the point? This is a terrible way to run a D&D campaign. Absolutely terrible. Strongly protest to this sort of fuckery and demand it be retconned to an equal level up. Get everybody else on board. Hell, get the traitor on board. Unless they're only playing the game for their own personal level ups, they'll probably see that this was stupid after a quick conversation. I'm more bothered by the DM deciding that one of the PCs is a traitor. If you have a story to tell that requires characters to behave in a specific way, write a book instead. There's nothing collaborative about this. If a DM messaged me partway through a session telling me I had to betray my party, I'd just text back, no, end of story. My character is my character. On the flip side, if the DM told me my character has been captured and replaced by a doppelganger, I'd be down to play along. I got to do that once. They never guessed it was me, up until they found the real me in a cocoon. They assumed that it was an NPC that had been replaced. Then the fake me revealed its true form, and I got to control it while the rest of the party fought it. Probably the best time I've ever had losing a fight. See, neither of things are bad in and of themselves. They could absolutely work with the right people playing, and the right system. I'm not sold on 5e being that system. The biggest problem is that the traitor was told 15 mon before the session. It wasn't their idea, and their character's agency is being taken away. The second biggest problem is that it messes up the suspension of disbelief in the game. You do stuff, you get better, you get stronger. EA, level up. If everyone was involved with the solution, why does the traitor get all the XP? That is a logical fallacy. In addition to the fact that the consequences were presented in the least amount of time possible. TTRPGs are a cooperative storytelling medium. Operative word being cooperative. There should be consequences for failure and for choices made. Neither of those two conditions were met. The traitor didn't choose to be a traitor. The party didn't fail the vast majority of the obstacles. TL, Doctor, Dipshit, Power-hungry DM. I would 100% tell them to fuck right off. Nah, having different leveled party members is already a red flag. But actively forcing different levels, especially a 2-level gap, is just ridiculous. I'd talk to your other party members then just quit. I have absolutely no issue with different level characters. I play older versions of D&D where characters level at different rates and the power increase from a level is significantly less than in modern versions. I can see giving out bonus XP in 5e that would result in a different leveling rate. For example, the op mentioned they did a lot of things to save party members during the last session. I can see argument that op could have gained additional XP here. I don't think it's a red flag. The red flags are arbitrary awarding more XP to a random player because no one knew they were a traitor. They didn't know they were a traitor themselves, so how was the party supposed to work it out? Taking away player agency by telling them they're a traitor now is such bad DMing. Remind the DM that you're there to play D&D, not pretend to be on the British reality TV show The Traitors. I can only assume that's what they were going for. The traitor reveals they had no idea this was happening until 15 minutes before the session ended because the DM texted them, "You're the traitor, don't tell anyone, and also, the traitor is still on our team and adventuring like normal," and that whole thing was done for basically nothing. Also, there was no betrayal. This player did not want to be a traitor, was still on the same team, had no ulterior motives, and literally acted no differently than normal. Not only does this make the guessing game unfair because you have nothing to base it on, it's also ridiculous because no one is actually a traitor. It's entirely arbitrary. At the very least, the DM should have told you that one of you was a traitor before you entered the maze. Announcing it arbitrarily at the end makes no sense. The concept of traitors only works when everyone enters the game knowing that some people will betray each other from the start, and when success in the game is determined to how trusted you amongst the group, so there's incentive for everyone to focus on trustworthiness during the challenges and interactions. The way the DM sprang the vote on everyone at the end, they might as well have made everyone play rock paper scissors, or something else equally pointless and irrelevant, to determine who gets to level up. Quit and leave. Your DM told none of you beforehand this would be a mechanic in the game. The party is now unbalanced, and he ignored your questions and concerns, and from the sound of it has no intention to retcon this in any way. Very misguided DM, and they need to work on their rewards and penalties for in-game roleplay things like this. Not as bothered by level differences, but randomly deciding there is a traitor, presumably with zero character motivation for who was chosen, and then having the player, who up until this point has not been acting like a traitor, find out they're the traitor right at the end. That's just stupid. Like, what does traitor even mean if the player hadn't actually done any betraying? That's not roleplay. This DM thinks he's running old school D&D, where levels don't matter as much, characters die a lot, and the DM has more power to give you a game-breaking curse. Sigh. One thing you could do is ask the DM which version of D&D, or better yet, which role-playing game, he actually wants to run. Because he doesn't really want to run 5e, that much is obvious. I feel like this group is doomed. No. If anything, you're underreacting. This decision was absolutely fucking absurd, and it seems like everyone thinks so. I'd suggest getting the group together, telling everyone to level up once, having the person who was declared the traitor tell the DM they refuse to be a traitor to the group, and the DM needs to not try to turn the game into Space Station 13. The group is about to start leveling up for next session, but before we do the DM stops us and tells us, we must guess who the traitor in the group is, or we go up 0 levels and the traitor goes up 2. Straight up adolescent bullshit. There are a variety of mature and not so mature ways to react to and deal with this, but I want you to know that off the top, the immediate hot take on this is straight up adolescent bullshit. Top tier bad DM. Outside the fact he's technically punishing you because you couldn't answer an impossible question. He's changing PCs without talking to them. Your level up isn't based on what you do but on his whim. Honestly, I'd just quit saying yay, I wanted to play D&D. Not you using D&D to get people to listen to your crap. This sounds like the dumbest thing the DM could have done, lol. Like, if you want to have one of the party members as a traitor, then go ahead, but it has to be planned out and the person needs to be told beforehand. Telling the person 15 minutes before revealing someone as a traitor is dumb. How is the party supposed to guess who the traitor is if the traitor didn't act that way the entire time? Then to have the entire party be punished if they can't figure out who the traitor is, then expecting the party to keep playing with a known traitor, unless he tries to spin some BS that the person was possessed/mind controlled, then yeah. Definitely have a serious discussion with everyone involved and based on what they say move from there. I always advise where possible for people to talk stuff out. Most issues are easily solvable through honest communication. But there are way too many red flags here. You told the DM you didn't like the difference in levels in a previous session and why. He then petulantly doubled down on this. The DM has decided the agency of a PC as being a traitor. He is involving himself too much. Elements like this should have been discussed in session 0. And this character is now, randomly, 2 levels higher than everyone else, just because. Your character played the actual game and played it well, saving other characters and progressing the story, and yet they weren't rewarded for it. And because he made up some last-minute nonsense that you couldn't figure out, he says it's a skill issue. You've sought advice from a community where the majority have concluded that the DM hasn't made good decisions. Instead of learning/growing from this, he has called everyone else D&D nerds like he himself isn't a D&D DM. He has said to put it to a vote as he assumes his longtime friends will back him up by default. This isn't a given, but if he is this controlling, I wouldn't be surprised if they do back him up after having to deal with him for so many years. Which means he'll always hide behind them whenever questioned. His style of game management will never improve. You have said you'll be willing to continue but are weighing up what to do, and he hung up on you. That shows the level of respect you can expect now and in the future. Don't put up with it. Find a new DM and group that plays fairly and you'll never look back. Also, if the DM still has access to this thread, eat some humble pie, and become a better DM. Otherwise, all your PCs will be out the door. In my not so humble opinion, the DM just destroyed his campaign. He designated a traitor. To what? No clues or evidence that someone in the party might betray them. Just, hey guys, guess who the traitor is? There are many ways you can play this in my not so humble opinion. All of them end with the party either setting the traitor up to get killed or killing him/her themselves. Is the DM trying to shut down the game without manning up and just saying it? What is the point of pissing off the entire table to the point where they just walk out or stop showing up? Wait, okay. So are we all going to overlook the fact that they level up every session? Or at least, that's how this reads. About to start leveling up for next session. Literally only 20 sessions in and you're all gods. No longer adventurers, but beings that can shape reality according to their slightest whims. I'm going on session 56 and my players are only level 14. Let's run down everything wrong here, because there's a lot of it. Saved 2 people from falling into lava and instantly dying. Instant death is really fucked as a thing to implement unless you have player buy-in that that's gonna be a thing or it's a one-shot. We go up 0 levels and the traitor goes up 2. Speaking from experience, having a party with a multi-level gap is challenging. It's less challenging at higher levels. For example, it's easier to have a level 13 to 15 party than a level 3 to 5 party, but it's definitely going to create combat and counterbalance problems where either the higher level character is too strong or the lower level characters are too weak. It felt very forced in and there was absolutely no lead up or any indication of anyone being a traitor. If you're going to run a traitor, this is a really bad way to do it. I mean, there are a few good ways and a lot of bad ways, and this is. Wow, if you had to ask me to list 5 terrible ways to introduce the party to the fact that one of them is a traitor, I don't think even I could come up with tell them out of nowhere that there is one. I immediately guess who the traitor is by the very first person desperately pleading their innocence before anyone even says anything, but no one else believed me and the traitor ended up gaining the 2 levels and everyone else none. And now everyone knows exactly who the traitor is, so how is that going to work? If you're going to have a traitor, they need to be able to work behind the scenes to sabotage the party and the reveal has to be an important plot point. This is the literary equivalent of opening a movie by telling everyone the twist from the start, except that in the case of a movie, the viewer can at least think interesting. I wonder how the
Hey adventurers and fellow Redditors, are you tired of hearing the same old battle music during your D&D sessions, or just looking for the perfect soundtrack for your next epic quest? Well, let me introduce you to Amazon Music Unlimited. With Amazon Music Unlimited, you get access to over 100 million songs, ad-free. That means whether you need an intense combat playlist, relaxing tunes for a tavern scene, or just something to vibe to while scrolling Reddit, we've got you covered. And it's not just about music, there are thousands of podcasts too. So if you need a break between campaigns, you can catch up on your favorite shows. Plus, there's the best part. If you sign up today, you can try it free for 30 days. No commitment, no hassle, just endless music and podcasts tailored to your taste. So whether you're crafting your next D&D campaign, painting minis, or just chilling with your party, make your soundtrack legendary with Amazon Music Unlimited. Hit the link below and start your free trial now because every adventure needs a killer soundtrack.
story gets to there as opposed to a TTRPG where the rest of you could just decide not to adventure with that character anymore now that you know they're a traitor. Or the traitor player could just dick not to be a traitor. The traitor reveals they had no idea this was happening until 15 minutes before the session ended because the DM texted them, "You're the traitor, don't tell anyone." The only conditions I ever run a traitor in a party is if I've coordinated with the traitor player and we're on the same page on the expectation that the end goal is that the party will defeat them and they will probably die. I would never give them extra benefits over the party, and I would absolutely never just arbitrarily pick a player as a traitor without having a conversation. I told him this ruling sucks and the whole thing seemed kinda pointless, and he just ignored me basically. As a DM, sometimes you're going to make rulings your characters disagree with. It's still important to understand what their concerns are and why they disagree. I recently had a conversation with one player where I was talking to him about a ruling he disagreed with, and I took the time to have a conversation with him where I could understand what his concerns were and address them so that he understood the intent of what I was trying to do and didn't feel like I was just intentionally trying to screw him over. Ignoring your players is generally a bad thing, and I can't think of a situation where I'd ever recommend it. This idea wouldn't be bad if we were at least warned about it in some way beforehand. Wrong, asymmetric leveling is almost always bad. Because now one person holds all the party's decisions because he outpowers everyone. Literally left adventurers league for this very reason. Talk this through with your party members, get the traitor on your side. Call for an intervention with the DM. Y'all were done dirty, and without players he ain't got a campaign. It all feels very forced with the DM showing no consideration to the player, so I definitely try to talk this out. Just come next session with a leveled up character, lol, fuck him. Really just considering telling him I'll come but with a level 7 character, lol. No, I mean, just come to the session with a level 7 character. Don't tell him anything, just play your character. Also, I saw your DM makes you play 2 LVLS lower when your PC dies. I really dislike a lot what I read about your DM. If he gets pissy with you, just leave. It's not worth taking his shit. No D&D is better than bad D&D. He can try to call you a crybaby or whatever TF he wants to, but he's the idiot here. I'm not immediately against the different levels bit by principle, but this execution seems designed to cause strife within the party. 2 levels at a time is a huge power jump in 5e for 1. For 2, this seems like something done above table and not in game. There is also an implication that the other player wasn't in on it, but that we have no idea one way or the other. If you are supposed to find the traitor and you did, what is the mechanics for that? Why does it have to be unanimous? How would your player character know? Are there roles involved? What is the point of this? I'm not 100% sure you should just straight up quit, because it sounds like you guys had fun before his shenanigans. But this is a game-ruining play. You all need to talk and come to a consensus. If he doesn't listen and you all can't come together as a table and find a way to make this fun, I'd leave the table. If he's especially a jerk, I'd poach his players and DM without him, lol. I know a lot of people like milestone leveling, but I hate it. This is an extreme example of why, but to me milestone leveling always feels forced and not organic at all. You definitely aren't overreacting. The DM forced a player to suddenly be a traitor, and didn't reward the party for overcoming challenges. I'd talk to the DM and leave the party if they don't change anything. The level difference has nothing to do with milestone leveling, and this is no different than guessing and getting XP or guessing wrong and the traitor gets a ton of XP. And if your milestone leveling has felt forced, then it was done wrong. What's more forced? Leveling up after completing a quest and or defeating a series of enemies and their boss, or leveling up after killing that goblin that wandered by. Okay, it's dumb, but give the DM till next session to figure it out. Sounds like you will be fighting the traitor next session, and the DM is giving him 2 extra levels so he doesn't get deleted quite as quickly. However, to circle back, it is a dumb plan, and poorly executed. I have a character with their own agenda in our group who constantly steals items of interest from the group. But it's not a last-minute reveal at all. The player knows it and picks what's taken. The other players have noticed things missing or not in rooms that were in rooms minutes before. They haven't seemed to care or assume it's an NPC character. But Terry's plenty of clues to guess who. Leveling up or not, based on no clues, the player not knowing they are a traitor and no backstory is insane. Now, the group should decide on consequences. They have a traitor and can't just keep going as if nothing happened. I don't think your DM planned this out well. I'll be the contrarian and say having different levels in the party isn't necessarily a bad thing, and is actually just fine in a certain type of game. And further, I think a game like your DM is running could be quite fun if it's executed correctly, meaning everybody knows at the start of the session what's going on. That the DM didn't tell the alleged traitor of their role until 15 minutes before the end of the session is absolutely baffling. How close are you to these people? This is a terrible ruling, but if they're your friends, then I'd say talk to the other players and also your DM. If everyone is okay with it and you don't want to rock the boat, then I say just live with it. But if they're randoms, then that's a terrible ruling and I would probably jump ship if I were you. The traitor reveals they had no idea this was happening until 15 minutes before the session ended because the DM texted them, "You're the traitor, don't tell anyone, and also, the traitor is still on our team and adventuring like normal, and that whole thing was done for basically nothing. What? Ooh. Not overreacting, this is a lazy DM, someone who knows that they can get a lot of mileage out of pitting players against one another without having to do a lot of that pesky plot development and world building stuff. Having someone play an inimical faction to the party is bad enough, but the fact that the traitor didn't know anything about this until moments before the game session started, is just downright bizarre. Ultimately though, the question of whether or not you quit, or stay with the game boils down to whether or not you're having fun. It may be your DM's ham-fisted attempt at using a doppelganger to further the plot along, but penalizing the players for not guessing something they've no clues to point them in the right direction is just plain shitty behavior. Discuss it with the other players before deciding, but keep in mind that every great DM has to run a few crappy campaigns before they truly learn to shine, and this may be a necessary part of the learning curve for them. That being said, if these kinds of weirdo curveballs become too common, it might behoove you to move on and either find a new DM, or start DMing yourself. I hate to say this, but it seems that the traitor didn't actually get any notice that they were a traitor, as they were told 15 minutes before the end of session. It's hard to immediately change your character so drastically, while hinting that is happening but not giving yourself away. It makes no sense that you don't get XPs for something you've done. XP are a sum. You can get XP for a trap and no XP for failing to identify the traitor. It's like you kill all enemies in a long mission until the beg, and when he escapes you get back to level 1 because all previous XPs were gained in the quest Thag lead TK this beg. Also, I'd still give less XP to those who failed but now have learned the hard way that traitors exist. I'm glad things ended up going well. But that thing is like, so what? Don't hinge level ups on something like that, especially when it's within party things. It sounds like wanting to introduce party conflict, which should happen organically by characters hating each other. Also announcing that level ups hinge on it made it worse. If he hadn't said that, it would leave been better because then you aren't arguing based on wanting to level up. Still a bad idea though. One of the most moronic things I read about and I browse r/RPR stories. Also, nobody is pointing out the traitor will be blatantly exposed the very next session since it's impossible to notice he is 2 levels higher, both in and out of game. How old is this group? How is this not just an open discussion? I see what you were going for, but you need to foreshadow that there might be a traitor. With a clue to start the adventure. For example, the ropes we were to use have obviously been partially cut through by a knife. And the traitor needs more warning. Since that didn't happen, and the traitor didn't act like a traitor, that part didn't really seem to work. Leveling up isn't about the power but about the acknowledgement you played well. And the award system in this case seems off. I'd suggest just biting the bullet on this time, but communicate the issues. Taking away player agency is a big nope for me in D&D. My character is the only thing I get to control, and outside of charms/curses/etc. I should be dictating my actions. I've had a curse on my character for a while now that's causing them to be overly paranoid, suspicious of other party members and NPCs out of nowhere that were previously trusted, roleplayed that and had fun with it because I still have control there, shouldn't gave picked up the ring, but flat out you are now a traitor. Why? What's making them do that? Telling someone they're a traitor with no other info/input/reason is wild. Giving them no time to act it out even if they were on board, and then asking everyone else to guess when there's clearly nothing to go on to indicate who the traitor would be. Even wilder. Doling out reward/loss for that roulette guess as if it should have any impact on the game. Absurd. Not overreacting. He is just annoyed you didn't think his cool idea was cool. If I were in this situation I would let the drama pass over me and just quit the game. I don't have time to deal with a DM that makes important decisions on a whom and doesn't listen to feedback. It's one thing if a player reaches out to the DM asking to be a traitor, and I would limit their impact to either killing one PC with an out-of-character discussion, or if that doesn't go well, a classic the party gets tied up and robbed in their sleep with the new non-traitor character coming in as a law figure or other person wronged by the traitor. Making that character a reoccurring villain can be a lot of fun. However, there shouldn't be enough of an XP bonus for them to be a higher level, generally speaking. I don't think a level gap of 2 is unreasonable if someone's missed sessions or made multiple back-to-back calls that got their character killed, but there shouldn't be one player that far ahead even in Pathfinder. It can be fun to be under-leveled and get creative, but I don't like the level of buy-in for something like this. I think you shouldn't quit until you talk to the GM one-to-one. And the group as a whole. You're all adults having fun, but we're all human, so it's important to collaborate and communicate. Upvote if you agree, please. GLHF op. Not an overreaction to quit if he doesn't rectify this. Get the other players on board and talk to him about how dumb and poorly executed this idea is, and that nobody likes having to lag 2 full levels behind someone else in the party, especially since this is apparently milestone leveling. He probably tried just to get some exciting unexpected twist, but needs to hear from the players how poorly thought out and executed this was, otherwise he will just do something equally dumb next time. Not overreacting. You figured out the traitor. You should get a level up even if the party doesn't. This DM sounds like someone who likes to have player conflict. I would not play long with them.
Hey adventurers! Today I'm super excited to share my thoughts on Keys from the Golden Vault, the thrilling new D&D sourcebook that's all about heists. If you're into clever planning, stealthy maneuvers, and daring escapes, this book is for you. What I love most is that it's packed with heist adventures for every level, so whether you're a new party or seasoned veterans, there's always a perfect challenge waiting. The artwork in this book? Absolutely stunning. It's not only vibrant and detailed, but it's also incredibly inclusive, showcasing diverse characters and settings that truly reflect the world of D&D today. It makes it even more fun to dive into these scenarios with my group to have this beautiful book in hand. And let me tell you, running these heists with my tabletop crew has been an absolute blast. The creativity, the tension, the out-of-the-box thinking, it keeps everyone on their toes and coming back for more. So if you're looking to spice up your D&D sessions, Keys from the Golden Vault is a must-have. Trust me, you won't regret it. Now go plan that perfect heist. Link in the description. Just go to the description and click the link and buy the book.